Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'du, fa'uzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. This is study number 28 of the Ramadan Daily Quran Studies for the year 2023, compiled by Zahid Aziz for the Ahmadiyya Anjuman Ishaat Islam, Lahore, UK. The topic of this study 28 is life after death. A faith in a life after death is the last of the basic principles of Islam. The word generally used in the Holy Quran to indicate this life is al-akhirah, which signifies that which comes after, or the future, or the last. Al-Yawm al-Akhir, or the last day, is also used instead of al-Akhirah. Death, according to the Holy Quran, is not the end of a human being's life. It only opens the door to another, a higher form of life. The Holy Quran says, "Nahnu qaddarna bainakumul mauta wa ma nahnu bimasbuqina ala an nubaddila amsalakum wa nunshiakum fima la ta'lamun." The translation is, "We have ordained death among you, and we are not to be overcome, that we may change your state and make you grow into what you do not know." Chapter 56, verses 60 to 61. Just as from the small life germ grows a human being, and he does not lose his individuality for all the changes which he undergoes, so from this human is made the higher human, his state being changed, and he himself being made to grow into what he cannot conceive at present. That this new life is a higher form of life is also made clear in the Quran. It says, وَلَلْآخِرَةُ أَكْبَرُ دَرَجَاتٍ وَأَكْبَرُ تَفْضِيلًا. The translation is, "And certainly the hereafter is greater in degrees and greater in excellence." Chapter 17, verse 21. The Holy Quran accords to faith in the future life an importance which is next only to faith in God. Very often, all the doctrines of faith are summed up as amounting to belief in God and the future life. For example, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُم بِمُؤْمِنِينَ, which translates as, "And there are some people who say we believe in Allah and the last day, and they are not believers." Chapter 2, verse 8, and there are other similar examples of the mention of belief in Allah and the last day only as indicating Islam. Surah Fatiha, the opening chapter of the Holy Quran, plays the greatest part in creating a true Muslim mentality, as the Muslim must recite it in the 5 daily prayers. In this chapter, God is spoken of as Master of the Day of Recompense, Malik Yawmiddin, and thus the idea that every deed will meet a consequence is brought before the mind of the Muslim continually. It undoubtedly impresses on the mind the reality of a future life when every deed shall find its full reward. The greater the faith in the good or bad consequences of a deed, the greater is the incentive which urges a person to do that deed if it is good, or which deters him from doing that deed if it is bad. The Holy Quran not only speaks of a life after death, which opens out for human beings a new world of advancement, it also shows that the basis of that life is laid in this our life on earth. For those who are good, the heavenly life begins even here. And likewise for the wicked, a life in hell begins even here. However, the limitations of this life do not allow most people to realize that other life. They will realize it after death. As the Quran says, لَقَدْ كُنْتَ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مِّنْ هَذَا فَكَشَفْنَا عَنْكَ غِطَاءَكَ فَبَصَرُكَ الْيَوْمَ حَدِيدٌ. And the translation is, addressing man, you were indeed heedless of this while alive, but now after death we have removed from you your veil, so your sight is sharp this day. Chapter 50 verse 22. This shows that the spiritual life which is hidden from the human eye in this life by reason of material limitations will become manifest in the resurrection, because human perception will then be clearer, since the veil of material limitations will have been removed. Life has an aim. An argument for the life after death advanced by the Holy Quran is that human life has some great aim and purpose to fulfill. It says, does man think that he will be left aimless? Chapter 75 verse 36. And again, do you then think that we have created you in vain and that you will not be returned to us? Chapter 23 verse 115. Belief in the life after death introduces a seriousness into a person's life which cannot be otherwise attained. It will be taking too low a view of human nature to imagine that with all those vast capacities for ruling nature and its wonderful forces, human life itself has no aim. Man has a higher object to fulfill. He has a higher life to live beyond this world, which is the aim of human life in this world. Good and evil must have their reward. Another argument put forward by the Holy Quran in support of life after death is that good and evil must have their reward. Of the whole living creation, humans alone have the power to discriminate between good and evil. And so acute is this perception of good and evil that man strives with all his might to promote good and to eradicate evil. Yet in practical life, good is often neglected and starves, while evil prospers. That is not as it should be. Good and evil must bear their full fruit in another life, which indicates the continuity of the life of man in another world, when death has put an end to it in this world. The Quran says, وَاصْبِرْ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. The translation is, be patient. Allah does not waste the reward of the doers of good. Chapter 11 verse 115. The Quran also says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ إِنَّا لَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ مَنْ أَحْسَنَ عَمَلًا. The translation is, we do not waste the reward of him who does a good work. chapter 18 verse 30. And again, Allah said, I will not let the work of any worker among you to be lost, whether male or female. Each of you is as the other. Chapter 3 verse 195. And finally it says, so whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see it. Chapter 99 verses 7 to 8. The famous British astronomer Sir Patrick Moore was once asked what insight he has gained on life after death as an astronomer. He replied, well, if life began and ended here, it would be rather pointless, wouldn't it? But life isn't pointless. This is the end of study 28. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'anil Azim wa nafa'na wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim. Innahu ta'ala jawadun karimun malikun barurufur rahim.